Chasing Tales, Episode 9, Flashback.
You find yourself at the Splish Splash Club, a dark little hole in the wall, where you'll hear jazz music from their amazing sax player. Tonight, the owner is singing. She's small, but she commands the room.
If we drift apart, then I'll be left alone. Though you use my heart just for a stepping stone, how can I help dreaming of you? I love you. I'm yours. Will Partry, everybody.
Pinky bows and spreads her hand to Will. He spins his saxophone and bows. She saunters off stage to her dressing room. Kevin is there waiting.
Hello, Kevin. Back again, are we?
You owe me an interview, Miss Pink.
Pinky sighs and lights a cigarette.
Well, I can't imagine what you still need to know about me.
Well, your basic resume is not enough for a story. I need to know the real Pink side.
Jack comes into the room. He gives Pink a look. She nods her head and leaves. Pink pours Kevin a drink.
No thanks. This is how you got around me last time.
Pink smiles and puts it down on the table in front of him. She gives Kevin a look. He shifts uncomfortably. He laughs nervously and smiles. What she once saw as annoyance, she now sees as a challenge.
All right, let's do this.
She thought to herself.
If you want to know the real pink salmon, you're gonna need this.
Kevin looks at the drink, then back to her.
Is your story this tragic?
It's a story no one will actually believe. You could never put it out as nonfiction.
He rises to stand.
Listen, if you don't want to give me the interview, just say so. Don't waste your time and mine.
Pink gathers a little magic to herself. She rises, her head glowing. She touches Kevin gently on the arm.
Do you want the story or not?
He suddenly feels compelled by his writer's curiosity. He sits.
Drink up.
He upends the glass and puts it down for another. He takes a pencil from behind his ear. He writes his question down so that he remembers what he asked.
So, who are you, really?
I'm a 500-year-old magic fish on a quest to end a curse. A typical hero story, really.
Pink takes a drag off of her cigarette and looks at him.
You just gonna leave that there? I have so many questions.
Well, I had to lay some groundwork.
Okay, let's start with 500-year-old then. You can't possibly be that old.
Magic, of course.
The curse?
Yes.
So are you magic, or can you do magic?
Yes.
Can you show me some magic?
I'm not really allowed to.
Ah, how convenient.
Her hands start to glow. Kevin watches as she sings the spell for water spout. A tiny water spout gathers up in the alcohol in the bottle and moves it to the empty glass on the table. Kevin sits open-mouthed. She just looks at him. His mouth snaps shut. He coughs. He looks down at his drink, then back to Pinky.
Did you spike my drink?
No, it really happened.
Okay then. Is that all you can do?
For you? Yes. There are rules, you know.
Rules from whom?
My boss.
I thought you owned this club.
No, not this boss.
Your boss in the government. I know you work with them.
Well, someone's done some homework. But no, not that boss.
Who then?
God.
You work for God?
Sure, don't you?
He shakes his head in disbelief.
You mean to tell me you are some kind of angel?
Oh no, I'm no angel. But we aren't really talking about them, or who I work for. You wanted to know about me.
Fair enough. So, the curse keeps you alive?
That's right.
Is it really so much of a curse then?
Pinky raises an eyebrow and leans forward.
Would you want to watch everyone you love die? How about feeling the pain of dying over and over only to come back the next day?
Come to think of it, that does sound pretty bad.
He holds up his empty glass. She pours him another, this time without using magic.
So, are you working to end the curse then?
Yeah, it's my whole bit.
How would you do that exactly?
I've been doing research. I've had several other magical entities give it a try, but so far we can just mitigate the effects of the spell.
What did you do to get cursed?
Pink bows her head. She takes a deep breath, and she slowly looks Kevin right in the eye.
I am a murderer.
Kevin involuntarily jerks his head back, partly in disbelief and partly shocked by the admission.
Maybe it would help if I start at the beginning. It all started in the forest. My parents were woodcutters.
The girl washed dishes while her mother knelt at the tiny shrine.
Rest in peace.
The glow of the candle warmed the room.
Please take
She
this
said the
curse
rosary,
from us.
and
Are
then
we
she
not
prayed.
obedient to your will? Why would you test us this way?
Helga hopped down from the stool she used to reach the sink. She wiped her hands on her tunic and went outside where Papa was splitting wood.
I'm finished, Papa.
There's mine, big girl.
He lifts her up and stands her on top of the splitting stump. It's warm under her bare feet.
All finished with the dishes.
Uh-huh.
I will come take the water out.
Helga grabs his sleeve.
Wait, Mama's praying.
Hans looks at her quietly, her brows furrowed as she stared toward the candle glow. He turned his head and looked at the pile of rubble where the chicken house had been. He looked down at her again. The candle went out and he carried her inside.
Put the girl down. You baby her too much.
Hans looked at Helga and Hannah. He patted Helga on the bottom and set her down.
Helga, go and take the brush basket and fill it all the way to the top. But do not go too far, okay?
Yes, Papa.
She trots away happy to miss what's about to happen. She sang quietly to herself as she bent to pick up sticks and things for the basket. She could hear her parents arguing. She stopped and sighed in the dark. She shrugged and hauled the basket back. The argument grew louder as she approached.
He's punishing us. My God. It is because I married you. A widower with a child, isn't it?
Hannah, calm yourself.
The histrionics continued. Helga felt sorry. She wanted to like her stepmother. She really tried, but no matter what she did, Hannah never saw her as anything but competition for her dad's love. It was easy to see after a few years that she had no love for her.
She is possessed. We have to send her to a priest.
She is our daughter. Do you know what they would do to her?
She is your daughter. Do you know what she might do to us? She is too destructive. But if the village found out we were harboring her, they'd burn us all. Hans, I am putting my foot down. We cannot keep her.
She's a child. Would you just turn her out into the forest?
It may be better for her. Perhaps survival will force her to learn not to deal in magic. It will certainly be better for us.
Are you so heartless?
I've made up my mind. She has to go.
The rustling of blankets indicated that the argument was over. Her father sighed and turned away from the bed to putter around by candlelight. Helga came from the shadows and quietly talked to her papa.
Papa, do I really have to go?
Your mother thinks so.
Why is she so angry with me? I've been trying to control the power, Papa. Really, I have.
She's afraid. Sometimes grown-ups do bad things when they are afraid.
Helga nodded.
Will you come with me?
Yeah, to the edge of the forest.
What will I do?
Take each problem one at a time and solve it, just like we practiced. I trust whoever gave you this power will watch over you.
What if they don't?
Hans bent down to her level. He hugged her to him. She could feel his pain. She hummed a little song that she always liked to sing, just to cheer him up. He did feel lifted. He packed a little more food and some basic tools, though he could barely spare them.
I will always love you. Try to remember everything costs something. Every power has its sacrifice. You are a smart girl. You can do this.
Helga begins to cry. He pulls her toward him again.
I can't, Papa.
It's all going to work out. No time for tears. Let's go.
He handed her the pack. She shrugged into it. He put on her shoes. Once outside, in the thick, inky darkness, he lit a torch and carried it, guiding them through the tall woods. It was nearly dawn by the time they got to the edge of the forest. It would still be a bit of a walk to the nearest village, but at least she didn't have to navigate the woods.
Let's start a fire. Do you remember how? Can you show me?
Yes, Papa.
Helga gathered sticks and logs and rocks just to make a small campfire.
Wunderbar. That's mine, girl. Now let us go find some food.
I saw a bird's nest when I was getting wood. Can we eat eggs for breakfast?
Yeah. Let us see if we can find them again.
They walked back into the woods, searching for eggs. After breakfast, Hans realized that it was time to go. He hugged her one more time. He wiped tears out of his eyes and tried to put on a brave face.
I am going back home now. Remember what I said. I love you, my little fish.
She never looked more small and vulnerable than in this moment. Hannah would never let him back with her. He felt his heart breaking as reality sunk in that he couldn't protect her from this. He walked away waving at her until he was out of sight.
So your parents just left you? How could they do that?
It was a different time. My stepmother was very religious, and at the time the consequences for magic were quite severe. I didn't understand then, but I do now.
What happens next?
After that, I wandered the plains for days, getting lost and found again and again. The hardest thing was finding food. I wasn't a very good hunter. My first kill was traumatic for me, but I ate it. I survived mostly on berries and water after that. By the time I made it to the village, I was hungry, tired, scratched, and bruised. My hair was in a wild state and I was dirty. I was nearly immediately accosted by some boys. They dragged me into a secluded place.
Look what we have here. Aren't you a dirty little baggage?
The first boy punches her. Helga scrambled to get away, terrified about what was going to happen to her. The third boy ripped her tunic. She jerked it away from him. The second boy grabbed her from behind, holding her arms while the first boy fought up her skirts. She kicked and screamed. The third boy grabbed her legs, laughing. Something snapped in her. She cried out a wave that came out of nowhere, pushing the boys far away from her. She got to her feet and she ran. She ran blindly until she could run no more. She collapsed. Now, with no pack and no idea where she was, she fell into the darkness of sleep, right where she lay. The boys must have given up, for when she woke up, she was in bed. She looked around the cottage, the afternoon sun peeking through the shutters. A bent shape wandered around the place, doing normal things.
Papa? No, child. You are in my house now and safe. Why were you wandering the plains alone? Where are your parents? They sent me away because Mama thinks I am dangerous. Well, are you? I guess. Things happen when I am scared sometimes. I destroyed the hen house. Again.
Brenna snapped her head up and turned to face the girl.
How? I drowned the chickens. How did you do this? Vasa just came and filled the coop until they were all dead. Why did you do it? That mean rooster attacked me again. It just happened. I didn't mean to.
Brenna looked around and grabbed the pot from down the shelf. She put it on the table in the middle.
Well, come on, child. Come sit at the table. Sit.
Doing as she was told, she slid out of bed and sat on the stool in front of the pot.
Focus on the pot. No matter what, just keep looking at it.
While the girl stared at it, Brenna slipped around her and poked her in the back with a paring knife, just enough to break the skin. Helga cried out in pain but didn't take her eyes off the pot. Water materialized in the pot from tiny streams, like a shimmering spiderweb, that took water from everywhere in the house. Brenna nodded, satisfied that she understood what she was looking at. She pulled a book down from the shelf and flipped through the pages.
Yeah, I can see why your parents would be concerned. Chickens are not cheap. If I can teach you how to control the power, will you stay with me and do whatever I ask you?
Helga thought about it a minute, and she could hear her papa's voice telling her that everything has a price. Every power has a sacrifice. Maybe this would be a kind of sacrifice she has to make. Not knowing what she had agreed to, she nodded. She was desperate to not do this alone. Brenna moved the pot of water off the table and sat down opposite the child.
I am an herbalist. I make medicine, but I am not without my own abilities. So do not cross me, do you understand?
Helga nodded obediently.
This relationship went on for many years. She taught me the trade, and soon I was the better nurse. I worked hard, but I didn't mind so much. I was never allowed to go to the village alone and must stay inside of her at all time. But as a young woman now, I needed space.
Risa sat on the thatched roof of the cottage, feeling hungry. She needed to cease some suffering. She caught wind of the wound-up hormones and exhaustion. She sniffed the air and licked her lips. She smiled in the darkness as Helga and Brenna stopped around the corner. Brenna struggled with her cane in the mud, and Helga carried water in a yoke and bucket. Rissa drifted down behind them and whispered,
"She's jealous, you know. She wished she'd never saved you."
Helga grimaced as she stared at the swinging lantern in front of her. Brenna stopped, breathing heavily in the dark. She burst into a coughing fit. Rissa moved invisibly to Brenna and whispered in her ear,
"She's coming for your spot, old woman. She already has a plan to betray you."
Brenna snorts, gives Helga a side eye in the dark.
Brenna, are you okay? Are you stuck? Let me help you.
She put the yoke down in the mud and bent down to help Brenna free herself. Kneeling invisible beside Helga, Rissa whispered again,
"See how much you do for her. Look at her face now."
Helga looked up. The lamplight made Brenna look gold and black. Rissa lay her hand on Helga's shoulders, sharpening the old woman's features. She looked meaner somehow, more sinister.
See how little she appreciates it.
Helga began to seethe. The mud at Brenna's feet began to dry out and crack as water curdled in the little stream toward the ditch behind her. It spread across the street, making the muddy track glisten in the moonlight. Helga freed her cane and stomped it into the drying mud, freeing Brenna's shoe. She stood up once again, bearing the weight of the yoke, and waited quietly for her to move again. Brenna secretly felt threatened by Helga's powers. Rissa stoked the flames in her mind.
You know she could take you. You have to stop her.
Brenna narrowed her eyes, resolving to do just that.
What a whale of a tale! Stay tuned for more in the next episode of Chasing Tales, Episode 10. Win, lose, or draw.
Hey everybody, this is Pink Salmon, and I just wanted to stop and thank you guys for coming to listen to the new set. Check these guys out, they're all amazing.
She said the rosemary, and she prayed.
Hold on to your butts.
You owe me an episode. You owe me a fucking psychotic break. God damn it. Fuck.
To obtain something of equal value must first be lost. The law of equivalent exchange, the founding principle of alchemy.
I can't swim! What's happening? Oh! Mommy!
Get him out for the lads! Ha 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 ha!
Unless you want to make this prick, just this little bully prick, sound like an absolute jackass. Let's see what she's got.
Ressa up to no good. Ressa manipulating. Ressa, the succubus.
Wow.
Zevine. Through the mercy of God.
Rest in pieces.